Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Better Late Than Never, a series where I play old games that I never got around to playing and talk about what we can learn from them today. We started digging into modern open world games last episode with Batman Arkham City, and now I think it's finally time to address the elephant in the room, or the dragon rather, because today we're talking about the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Despite it being available on pretty much every console imaginable, I never really had a chance to play it until its Switch release last year, and that opens a whole can of worms, which we'll get to, so let's get into the rest of it first. Here are my 3 biggest takeaways from Skyrim. Number 1, no one does Skyrim better than Skyrim. As I played through Skyrim, one thing became immediately clear. This is patient zero for today's games. That is to say, so many games in the 2010s have tried to capitalize on Skyrim's success with gigantic open worlds and tons of content. The only thing, nobody has done it better than Skyrim. Its world is just so massive and lived in. There are new quests, stories, and monsters hiding in every nook and cranny. I've always wondered how people have played this game for so many years, and now I really get it. It just feels like a real world, not just a small digital playground. And let's face it, that's difficult to build. It's not just about good level design, you need to have the creativity to support it. And Skyrim has that down in spades. From giant trolls, to ancient machines, to questlines where you get drunk and kidnap a goat. Every moment is a surprise, steeped in rich mythology that only a franchise like the Elder Scrolls can deliver. I haven't beaten it yet, and honestly, I'm in no rush to. For now, I'm happy that I can pop back into it anytime that I want and still have more to do. Now, all that said, well, number 2, other games are still better than Skyrim. Sure, Skyrim is still the best at being Skyrim, as that pertains to world building, but mechanically, that's a much different story. It's not an old game by any means, but man, sometimes it feels like it is. The combat is often clunky, especially compared to games like Horizon Zero Dawn, which excels in its varied, fun action. But I think the main problem really comes down to something that Bethesda is famous for: bugs. Now, where do I start? I spent money on a boat trip, only to have the captain refuse to set sail. I talked to an NPC to complete a quest, and he both thanked me and sent guards to attack me within seconds of one another. I beat most bosses by figuring out weird ways to slowly cheese them. Bugginess has come up before in this series, and I don't know if it's ever been as much of a problem as it is here. It doesn't ruin the game, but it does make sections of it downright frustrating. And what's particularly annoying is that Bethesda has had plenty of opportunities to fix those issues, considering how many times this game has been re-released and re-released. And that's the perfect transition into my last point / question here, which is that number 3 is a re-release the same game as the original. I've been building to this point for a while, and for the next few episodes of this series, we're going to tackle this question, so buckle up. The Switch edition of Skyrim is still Skyrim, but how different is it from the original 2011 release? For one, it contains more content, like console-exclusive quests, plus it contains all of the game's DLC, making it a much more robust experience than the original on-disc game. Then, you have to factor in how much the Switch's portability makes it a more accessible game. Rather than sitting down and playing it for hours at a time, I could tackle it subquest by subquest during commutes. So for the purposes of this series, is it fair to say that I played the Skyrim of old? And I think that depends on the scope of the re-release. Skyrim Switch compiles all of its content, but nothing much changes beyond that. I mean, like I said, it's still filled to the brim with bugs that Bethesda could have spent time rectifying. Instead, it's presented in all of its flawed glory. So, we kind of do get the original experience here, preserving how big, beautiful, and messy Skyrim is. But let's keep this in mind going forward, because this question will get increasingly more complex as we continue on. Anyways, what do you think? Is Skyrim Switch the same game as Skyrim, or should it be evaluated as a separate thing? Let me know in the comments. And stay tuned, because next week, we're going HD.